The governor of Minnesota is preparing the National Guard to face off against Donald Trump's federal ICE goons. This is potentially moving towards a disaster of such scope and significance that it has been decades since the U.S. has seen this sort of thing. Now, I know a lot of you wrote to me about, is this the start of the Civil War, David? Let's table that for a moment for the next segment. Here's what we have learned about what Minnesota and Minneapolis are planning. Again, here is Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey with a message for ICE in the aftermath of the killing of 7-year-old Renee. Is greater than. There's little I can say again that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE.
There's little I can say again that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE.
From the governor, Tim Walz, who says this. Can you believe this is the United States of America right now? Days into 2026, Governor Tim Walz is preparing his state's National Guard to face off against Trump's ICE goons. Listen to this. We do not need any further help from the federal government. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough. There's nothing.
We do not need any further help from the federal government. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough. There's nothing more important than Minnesotan safety. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks. And these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops. They're teachers in your community, they're business owners, they're construction professionals. They are Minnesotans. Minnesota will not allow our community to be used as a prop in a national political fight. We will not take the bait. We do not need any further help from the federal.
Necessary one. There are those who are immediately saying, why is Tim Walz raising the temperature? Folks, Trump's goons came in, shot a woman 3 times through her window and windshield, killing her. And Trump went online and said it seems like self-defense. That's the escalation. Governor Walz is doing one of the few things he can do to try to defend his state. Now, understand that National Guard units are normally activated for disaster response or for civil unrest or a support role as requested by local officials. This is different because the Guard is being prepared to respond to and defend against federal law enforcement activity itself. This is a line not often crossed in the United States. That is why a lot of you are writing to me about civil war, and I will get to that. Conflicts between states and the federal government have almost always played out in the courts. As state sues, the Justice Department responds, a judge issues a ruling. It's a slow process. It's often a frustrating process. But the reason that that process exists is to prevent a physical confrontation between a state National Guard and federal law enforcement, or between local police and federal police. The whole point of the slow, frustrating system we have is to prevent these sorts of violent escalations. When a governor like Tim Walz, who is careful, this is not an erratic guy. When a governor like Tim Walz says we've got to prepare the state military forces to potentially battle federal agents because they are operating in ways that are dangerous or illegitimate, we are not in normal territory. This is a unique situation. Now, the context, of course, matters. If Tim Walz were just saying we don't want ICE and we're putting the National Guard out there to fight them, there are many of us who would say that is justified. But it might be moving a little too quickly when using the courts may be appropriate. That is not the context right now. The context now is that an ICE agent shot and killed a U.S. citizen during what they are calling an enforcement operation, where the video evidence contradicts the administration's self-defense narrative. Federal officials are doubling down, and Trump is blaming the so-called radical left. There is no accountability and not even the idea. Let's pause and think for a second. So from the state's perspective, if you are the governor, the administrator of the state of Minnesota, which is what he is, federal agents show up unannounced, they create chaos, they kill a resident, lie about what happened on camera, and say, we're going to keep going. He is in a position where he has to say, do I do nothing or do I act to protect public safety? as I see it. That is how you end up with Tim Walz preparing his state's National Guard to do battle against the federal goons of Donald Trump. Now, does this mean civil war? That is the critical question that I will talk about after the break.